I think the question of how to run faster over long distances can be answered more thinking long term, knowing that as you age, as you get fitter, you're going to run faster over longer distances. It's very hard at the very beginning of any buildup, regardless of what age you are, especially if you're older. You have to be much more patient with yourself and your buildup. But you run faster over long distances as the body gets more fit, as your ability to clear lactic acid faster than it builds up becomes more efficient. And we do that by obviously training at faster paces over distances. Like if you're training for a 10 miler, you want to spend some time training down at 3K to 5K race pace once per week, running at your VO2 max. VO2 max is your body's maximum oxygen uptake. It's running around 95 to 100% of max heart rate. So if you're training at VO2 max once per week, if you're running for longer periods of time, not only doing long runs, but doing very long runs, running for 2 to 3 hours, you're burning fat more effectively, more efficiently. You're not only improving your body's lactate tolerance, because again, you're training for very long periods of time, getting outside of your comfort zone, burning fat more readily. All of this on top of doing speed intervals once per week and doing longer tempo runs or anaerobic threshold runs where you're running around 88 to around 92% of max heart rate. If you're extending the duration running at these types of intensities and you're working on your speed, you're doing hill repetitions once every other week, or sometimes, depending on the athlete, it might be once per week. Doing those types of intervals, those explosive type activities where you're sprinting up hills and you're forcing your body, you're forcing yourself to really focus on your form, that is going to help you as the body adapts. Now remember, it takes between 3 to 4 weeks for your body to adapt to any stress load you're placing on it. So for the athlete that's asking the question of how to run faster over long distances, you do want to get to a point where you're running at intensities that are so intense that your body, you simply can't clear lactic acid faster than it's building up. So it's natural. We have to take those short breaks in between each reps. If you're doing like repeat thousands on the track or repeat 300s on the track, or you're doing, say repeat 150 to 200 meter hill repetitions where you're running at all out efforts on the way up, focusing on pumping your arms on the way up, lifting your knees, really focusing on your form, training at paces that you're not going to be able to sustain in your particular distance, whether that's a 10 miler, 25K, half marathon, or marathon. That's going to make you dangerous when it comes time for you to race. Now, I also believe in a 10-day taper. I think a lot of athletes start dropping volume and intensity way too soon. For a lot of athletes, a 3-week taper is sufficient. And some athletes get personal best on 3-week tapers, but I've always set new PRs on 10-day tapers. I think 10 days is sufficient time for you to really drop that volume, drop the intensity down, and not drop intensity and volume too far out so you don't go into your race feeling tired and lethargic. You feel a lot more energized and motivated going into your race by doing a 10-day taper rather than dropping volume way 3-4 weeks out from your key race. Definitely running faster over long distances, it's going to be, you have to have a high amount of not only pain tolerance but more importantly patience. I think there's so many of us want results far too quickly, and we miscalculate the amount of time it's going to take us to achieve what we want. And so I think if you can find a way to stay energized and staying motivated for what you're doing in the sport, and you don't get upset and you don't overanalyze too often over like bad races or bad workouts, and you find a way to stay motivated for what you're doing and stay patient, your ability to cover long distances at faster paces is going to be much more enjoyable, and you're going to be much more effective at it. Because again, you're trying to, obviously anybody that's asking the question of how to run faster over long distances, they're already motivated, they're already driven athletes. They're asking the right questions. They're asking those niche down questions that, hey, how do I perform at the highest possible level and be as effective as I possibly can be? and how can I outsmart my competition? What do I got to do to get to the next level as an athlete? And running faster over long distances, it took me 15 years to break 2 hours and 20 minutes for the marathon distance. That was my goal. I was trying to break 2 hours and 22 minutes and earn a USA track and field Olympic trials B standard time back in 2007, when the B standard time was 2 hours and 22 minutes. Now in 2024, I know the A standard is 2 hours and I believe 18 minutes. And so it took several years. It took me over a decade to do that. So for you, it might be qualifying for the Olympics or earning a Boston qualifying time in the marathon. Maybe it's breaking 40 minutes for the 10K. Whatever goal it is that you have in mind, running faster over long distances is not an overnight process. You're just, you look, I think if you have a long-term approach and you make some short-term goals, maybe that's, to break 4 hours for the marathon. Maybe a long-term goal for you is to break 3 hours for the marathon. Make some goals that are going to keep you motivated in the short term, but also make some long-term goals. What do you want to do in 5 years? What do you want to do in 10 years from now? What is your all-time goal to run for the 10,000 meters or the 1,500 meters on a track, or to run, what's your all-time long-term goal to run in the half marathon? Whatever that is, you really have to pre-plan properly. Find some races that are going to set you up for success. Find races that have flat courses that are going to be conducive for you to run a fast time on, rather than running over hillier courses. Okay, definitely train on hills, train on hillier terrain. But if you're going to go for an all-out effort and you're trying to set a new personal best and you really want to run the fastest possible way over longer distances, then find a flat course to race on. Also find, if you're going to do tempo runs or you're going to do long runs, definitely find some flat roads near where you live and do those workouts on flat surfaces, flat courses. It's going to help you psychologically too, because you see what mile split you're hitting, you see what kilometer splits you're hitting, and as you get fitter, you see those splits getting faster and faster and faster. That is going to help you as well over the long term. And again, remember, it takes between 3 to 4 weeks for your body to adapt to any stressor you're placing on it. Right now, if you're running 7:30 mile pace, or say, you're running, just for example, you're running around 4:20 kilometer pace, and you're really having a hard time doing it, I'm telling you, 3 weeks to 4 months or 4 weeks from now, those paces you're going to feel much more in control of throughout your run. So be patient, think long term, but also make some short term goals to keep yourself motivated. And definitely know that to run faster over long distances, you have to get outside of your comfort zone and do it often. Okay, again, the world's top middle to long distance runners run around 40% of their weekly volume at anaerobic threshold effort or faster. So they're making it look easy for a reason. It's not just because they're world-class athletes. Of course, they're well-trained. They may have a great deal of genetic ability, but they've been doing this over a long period of time, several years, but at a very high effort. So if you're going to take it to the next level as an athlete, and I know you will, you're asking the right question, how to run faster over long distances, you have to be committed and you can't let up. If you let up once, if you just let up just a small amount, you're really sacrificing your gift, okay? Even Steve Prefontaine said it best. To give anything less than your best is to sacrifice the gift. So make sure you're staying motivated. Make sure you're keeping yourself accountable. Surround yourself with the right people. The people that really care about you don't really care how fast you run, but they'll be there for you whether you run fast or you run slow, whether you have a great race or you have a poor race. Surround yourself with athletes. If you're trained with athletes, get around some athletes that are much faster than you as well. But also be cognizant of how fast they are in when you're doing workouts with them. Don't try to go and run their workouts or run their races, but definitely train with them. Get to a point where they can pull you along to faster splits. But also train some time alone. I prefer training by myself. I've trained over the years with other athletes and in groups. I've trained with Kenyans, I've trained with world-class Americans, other athletes from around the world. But I like training by myself because I know if I can push myself and train at very high intensities for over long distances, even in the short distances, and I can hit those splits by myself, man, watch out for when it's time for me to race against other athletes. Okay, now I'm willing to get beat, and I've been humbled over the years, and of course, there's always somebody faster than you. There's always somebody faster than you and I. Okay, but if you can run and train at fast paces over long distances by yourself, think about how much easier that's going to be when it comes time to race against other athletes, and they help you run at even faster paces. So I hope this video is helpful for you. If you have any other comments, leave them below. Like and share these videos. I really appreciate all of your support in building this channel. And if you are looking to run faster over longer distances, check out the resources below these videos, as well as on RunDreamAchieve.com. Definitely keep me posted on your training. Leave me comments. I will definitely reach back out to you. And I wish you guys and gals all the very best in your training, and I'll talk to you all in the next video.